There are a million real estate podcasts, but let's be honest, most of them are either boring or full of outdated advice. That's why we created the Agent War Room, to give you the real, raw, and tactical playbook for dominating your market. Today, we're kicking things off by sharing our journey, why we teamed up, and how Suneet went from solo agent to running one of the most dominant teams in the country. We're going to start right off with, just kind of going back and forth with why we started the podcast. We know that the real estate industry is changing really fast, and agents need real strategies, advanced strategies, and not just recycled advice. So, Isaac, Suneet, jump in. What do you think? You want to talk about kind of why you were spirited to start this together here?
Dude, great question. I'll go ahead and start first. I believe this is the fourth podcast I've ever started or been part of starting. So I've learned some things that I think are important along the way. I have another great podcast that I love, but it's really focused on more of the team leader kind of position. When I think about Agent War Room, and specifically the name that we gave it, Agent War Room, is when I was a brand new agent, I found out what a podcast was. It was almost 11 years ago. I had never heard of a podcast. And the podcast that I listened to every day without fail gave me tactical advice that me as a brand new agent could leverage to increase my business. And guess what? It worked. So I really want this podcast to be my intention with this podcast. And it's all of our intention actually, is to provide a place where anybody from any level in real estate, maybe you don't even have your license, right? But where you can walk away with something that you can implement in your business, regardless of where you're at.
Implement it today, right? Like not just
implement
not pie in the sky theory. Yeah,
exactly. Tactical things that people, regardless of where they are in their business, can learn.
Yeah, and I'll kind of piggyback on that, right? So one of the main things that helped impact my career and help me was, getting that tactical advice and also understanding it from people that were in the trenches, right? There's a lot of outdated information, and I'm not saying those people aren't smart, aren't capable, and don't deserve to rely on their track record. But there are just things that are changing every day between technology, right? We get into a lot of that in this podcast where we're helping people understand the landscape of what's going on. The other thing is that, right, that's a huge thing. And here's one of the things that I learned early on in my career, and I've always harnessed, and I hope we get to impart to the people that are listening to this podcast, is there are some simple truths about how to run a business that when you apply those truths time and time and time again, you get results, right? Totally. And there's a lot of fluff out there, and then there's some fundamental truths. And if we can teach you some fundamental truths that we've learned in our business, here's the outcome. Because I've seen it happen with agents on my team, agents in my brokerage, family that are now real estate agents, is this. Imagine a world in which you can coach yourself in my absence. That's what truths are. Right? When you latch onto those fundamentals.
Say that again. Sorry. Say that again. Imagine a world where what? Because that was really freaking good.
Imagine a world where you have these truths that are fundamental and that you can coach yourself in our absence. Like, we're going to do our best to coach you.
So good, Isaac.
Man,
I love that.
No, I believe that the role of a team leader inside of an agent's world, the role of a broker, the role of a mentor is, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to model and teach fundamental truths such that you can coach yourself in my absence. Remember those voices? Sometimes you have that voice in the back of your head, right? I always think of this from sports: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That was a maxim that I live by, and now I teach it whether I'm coaching soccer or coaching agents. Right?
Love it.
And so those truths
kind of goes along the old adage of, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for life. So it's kind of teaching for them to be self-sufficient, kind of carry your own bags mentality.
100%.
Another reason why I'm really excited we started this podcast is because everybody watching, everyone listening, Alex Rivlin and Isaac Guzman, these are two smart dudes. So I learn that more and more every time I meet and talk to them. I think all the listeners are and viewers are in for a real treat.
Yeah. Right back at you,
man. Yes.
So how about you? How about you, Alex?
Yeah.
What was your intention?
I mean, honestly, it's a pay it forward intention, right? It's a come from contribution. I've been poured into all my life. And for those that know me personally, they know I give without expectation, right?
Absolutely.
I give without looking for something back, and it all works out. And it's really interesting. I have a quote, and this will kind of give the genesis of how we all actually know each other and how this even came together. But I live in Vegas, and there's about 2.5 million people in Vegas now. And a lot of people say it's such a small town because everybody seems to know everybody. So I came up with a quote many, many years ago, which is, there's over 2 million people in Vegas, and I know all 50 of them. And I would say the same thing within real estate, right? We know who the movers and the shakers are. And, there's over 1.5 million licensed real estate agents in the nation. And, we know all 100 of them or whatever that number may be. And, so Suneet, I met you actually before I knew Isaac, right? I met you back in 2017, I think it was.
Crazy.
We were both part of a coaching organization. You were a coach. I was a client. I became a coach. So we were in the coaching meetings together and all of that.
Okay.
Then kind of fast forward and we joined a mastermind together, right? A pretty expensive, annual mastermind where we got together 3 times a year with some of just the highest powered speakers and really practitioners that weren't even just in real estate, right? There was a webinar guy that talked. There was a former skateboarder that, blew up his empire. I mean, we heard from so many people and, we got to know each other along the way, which was awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. And then I met Isaac at a coaching event as well. And we actually hiked a hike in Zion called Angel's Landing. And that's where, that's a pretty treacherous hike and pretty life risking. And we connected through that and have been connected ever since.
So you're the guys that go on these pre-event hikes because I'm not. John does it every year, and I'm all still no.
Yeah, we did that one with John.
I don't know if you remember that, Alex. When we got back on the bus, I cried.
You cracked?
A lot of people don't know this. I'm deathly afraid of heights. And I was like, I'm going to do this hike. I'm going to do it. I don't care. And I held it together. And then on the bus, I just cried.
Oh, no.
I couldn't, dude. It was, I thought I was going to die for 5 hours straight. It's crazy.
And for those that aren't in the kind of Southwest area and don't know Angel's Landing and don't know Zion. So Angel's Landing is this pretty treacherous hike where at one point you're at the spine of the mountain and there's about a 1,500 foot drop off on both sides. And that spine is no wider than your desk. And there's rods drilled into the mountain with a chain. And you hold on to the chain as you're walking, and your palms are sweating.
Dude, I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, Isaac's palms are sweating right now. Mine are too.
It's gnarly, and yeah, when you make that choice to do it and to actually summit, there is a plateau at the top of it. But yeah, for those that don't know it, again, look it up. Angel's Landing. Just Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll know why Isaac had teary eyes there.
I'll just add one more piece. When we got to the top, I have no idea what it looks like. I laid down flat so that I couldn't look over because I was too afraid to stand up. I crab walked off the top of that. So
Dude,
I have no pictures up there.
It's such a good segue. That, going on that hike that sounds so treacherous and big old falls. And look at, we're in the real estate industry talking about the purpose of this podcast, right? What a good segue. The real estate industry can be treacherous for many. In fact, there's some alarming statistics about the average agent lasts, 4 years in the business? 89% of agents fail after 4 years. Is that a stat?
Wow, somewhere around there, yeah.
And then at the end of 2024, there was that video from another coach going around talking about the amount of agents who hadn't sold a single home and the percentage that sold more than like 10 meaning like maybe an average of where you're earning more money than if you had a $40,000-$50,000 a year job. Right? Did you guys see that stat?
Yeah, 71% of agents didn't sell a home in 2021 or
71.
2024,
And
and
so
only 2% sold more than 10.
I do want to kind of throw like a little clarity out there for this, right? Because I saw that stat as well. And my immediate comeback to that was how many teams don't give credit to their agents
Sure.
versus teams that do.
Good
So,
point.
so the, and not to, obviously bash it within here, but I just, when I see that posted all the time as a marketing piece, I think there's a little sensationalism to it
You
where
aren't wrong, bro.
here,
Oh,
sell this coaching program or
Yeah, of
sell
course.
this or sell that because it's 71% didn't sell anything. I don't know what the real number is. I'm going to imagine it's probably closer to about 50%, which is still horrendous,
yes.
right? That's still an awful number. So there's no chance under, the blue sky that we have that we should have any agents out there that are, and honestly, as an industry, we probably shouldn't let them in if they're not serious about being in the business. And if
Well, hopefully somebody out there will find this podcast through the Googles and the Chat GPTs or however social medias, and hopefully we can impact it and save one person from being part of the other part of that list.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Alex, what's on the agenda for today?
Well, so the last thing I just wanted to kind of set the tone for the future podcast and expect fire, right? Sunit said it earlier, that actionable takeaways, stuff that you guys are going to be able to just jump in and say, oh, I'm going to implement this Shake the Trees email, or I'm going to implement this, this new smart list in my CRM, or know who to call instead of just calling a blanket, group of people, how to hold an better open house, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be no BS. And as you can tell already, as we're talking about, crying coming down from mountains, we're going to have a little fun along the way. I think all of us are characters in our own right. Lots of dad jokes over here, by the way, just going to let you know. I used to be in the auto repair business. And I tell everybody when I went to sleep at night, I dreamt of mufflers and I always woke up exhausted.
Oh, I like dad jokes too. We're all dads. We all like
dad jokes are great, right? So, but today, actually, Sunit, we want to talk about your journey. We want to talk about how you went from solo agent to scaling the machine that you currently run. What your early struggles were, and I'll ask some questions along the way. So, go ahead and kind of give us the intro of the story of Sunit.
So the real interesting thing or the unique thing about my story is I had only been an agent for 2 years when I decided to start a team. I've been licensed now for 11 years, full-time agent. Joined after I had been raided by the federal government and had all my assets seized, literally, and I had to start over with basically nothing. But I needed money to pay my bills because my mom was paying my rent. I wanted to go out and party and have fun and go out to eat and go to the club. I was single at the time, right? So, and I just wanted to spend money. I had been used to a lifestyle previously where I was successful. So what was the quickest way for me to get to that place of success once again? And I don't know. I decided to become a realtor. I would show up at the office every day, really had no formal tech training or lead training or prospecting training, did open houses, bought Zillow leads, listened to podcasts like this, and really just went all in on self-development. About 2 years in, the whole team thing really started to resonate. And at first, I resisted. I would tell people, look, I'm a simple guy. I just want to be able to pay my bills, have a Honda Accord, and just support my little life.
So, Cindy, could I pull you back a sentence ago? Because I think this is really important. And I think you hit on something that's critical is you said you went all in on self-development. So that was even like as an entree to getting to the team. But what did that look like? What do you mean by self-development or personal development?
Dude, everything. Yeah, I think I just mentioned during the intro is that I found out what a podcast was. So I listened to podcasts about real estate and stuff literally nonstop, like 5 episodes a day. Started first, shout out to Joshua Smith with the GSD Mode podcast. And Joshua had a big impact in my life. And then next, Pat Hyben, Real Estate Rockstars. Both of those gentlemen had big, huge impacts on my life. So like before 11 years ago, I really wasn't in the self-development space at all. I had experience. I had teased it in the past, and it led to success in different industries. But I really got into it, going on Facebook groups. I would go on Facebook groups and find the information and talk to people. So I would read all the books that the people on the podcast would say to read. I got involved with the coaching organization in order to, just work on myself. And all those things finally got me into a headspace to where I wanted to start a business. People will joke, or one of my dear friends, James Anthony, my former attorney, he would always say to me, and it was a little bit of an Indian joke that he would say is, Sunit, you like to be a shopkeeper. And he's not wrong. Like every business that I've done for any long amount of time, I've either ran or I've owned. I remember I was sitting in Keller Williams and said, okay, I'm going to start a team. And at the time, the Keller Williams had just come out with their personality assessment test. Isaac, what's it called? KPA. So it had just came out. And my team leader at the time, who was a great and very influential person in my life, said, you should take the KPA. And nowhere on there did it say that I should be a team leader. And I know that the manager at the Keller Williams office was really into that KPA stuff, right? She was all in. And I always make the joke. I said I should be the janitor. I don't know if that's true or, but that was the kind of answer I got, And then one day, I had some anxiety. I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go up and tell them that I'm going to start. So I did, and they were supportive. So what's the very first thing I do? I had been splitting a Sync account, commission Zinc account with a loan officer, doing the minimum spend on leads. So I had leads. I also had a Zillow account I was spending about $2,000 a month on at this point. 2.5 years into my career. And I was sitting in the Keller Williams office, and I was sitting in a cubicle of about 6 cubicles, and there was agents in every one of the cubicles. And I said, I'm going to start a team. I stood up. I'm going to start a team. Who's in? I got leads. And all 6 people, all the other 5 people out of the 6 desks, I was the 6th, all said, sure, I'll join. Well, look, now I got a team.
Yeah. Now I have a team. What do I do?
All right. Well, luckily at the time, I was involved in coaching. I think at this point also, Alex, to what you were saying earlier, I was a coach by this time at some context. So I had a framework to lean on, if you will, right? I had something that I could model, but that's about it. I had closed Zillow leads and open house leads and SOI. I better figure out how to work a PPC lead. Not only do I need to figure it out, but I need to get these other 5 people figuring it out too, right? And so I started a team. Then I ran an ad, I think on either Craigslist or Indeed, and got 3 more agents on the team. Then I spoke to my team leader and said, hey, we're getting some traction. We're closing some deals. I was closing a lot at the time. Can you send me some agents? And she started stuffing me full of agents. Lo and behold, it had been 5-6 months, and we're doing good business for a ragtag team with me, also pretty much a new agent. Maybe at that point I had sold 50 homes in my career or 60 homes in my career. Not much to my standards to make a decision to start a business like that. Right. And then, as we talk about scaling, that's around the time that we were in the mastermind too, Alex. And I just was getting exposed to a lot of right stuff. So we talk about self-development.
So that's what I was going to ask you next, actually. So just to pinpoint it, I think this is where you're going, but just in case, what was that breakthrough moment when you realized that you had to scale the right way, that you were going, okay, and maybe this didn't happen for you, but I know it's happened for me. My team is a little haphazard. I don't have the systems, the processes in place, and boom, that light bulb goes off. We've got to scale the right way.
I was always pedal to the metal, and we'll figure it out as we go along.
Ready, fire, aim.
Yep. It's super funny. I was talking to Barry Jenkins the other day. At this time in both of our careers, he had, we talked for 3 hours a day in a group text, right? All day. Dude, so much. It was crazy. And, he said, hey, I'm going to make it onboarding. I was onboarding. That's a good idea. Can I borrow it? And he gave it to me. I used it for 2 years, burying on a bunch of videos inside a free Trello account, onboarding agents to our teams. I was elevating myself and putting myself in the right rooms I was constantly challenging what I knew. I was constantly trying to go deeper and get bigger ideas. And dude, at that point, I decided to start a brokerage. I've been an agent now for 3.5 years, dude. So like now I have the brokerage and the team, and I better just figure it out. And as I talk to so many great team leaders that I coach and consult to, I feel like so many people think that everything has to be perfect before they're able to grow. It's also similar to people who think that they have to have the perfect camera before they take a photo of themselves to put on social media, right? Like, what do we know about perfection?
Done is better than great, right?
Yeah. Like, this is what I know about perfection is I don't know anything perfect.
No.
Right? Like even a perfect circle isn't perfect, right? Didn't you guys hear that? Like there is no perfection. So quit chasing it. I speak, inside of coaching and consulting. I'm so fortunate to do a lot of that in my life. Is I talk to leaders who think that this has to be perfect before they can start to grow. This has to be perfect before they start to do anything. Look at Amazon. Look at Tesla. Look at Apple. Look at Google. Look at Meta. Look at look at the US government. Look at any government. They're all basically shit shows. So you're going to get something perfect when people with 10 times the capacity, 1,000 times the budget aren't able to, right? So sure, I understand wanting to be prepared, but don't let preparation and trying to have a perfect scenario stop you from getting started. What does that have to do with my story? I think, Alex, just that was how I saw it, right? Like, I'm going to figure it out, model what I know, model what I learned from being an outgoing person and having the right conversations and knowing the right people. That's really been one of my superpowers, I think. Everyone likes me for some reason, like, until they get to know me real well, right? But that's a joke. That's sarcasm. But that allowed me to talk to people and to model and to just do leapfrogs ahead. I was an agent for 3.5, 4 years with a brand new team in brokerage. And Robert Slack and I talked every day. Like, who the F was I? Nobody, right? So, and I had one of the biggest team leaders still to this day talking to me. Once again, very fortunate. So I think of doing a lot of these right things right and putting myself out there, it really just got me going.
So were there any key systems and hires along the way that are something that are worthy of pointing out?
Yeah. So within being licensed for 1.5 years, I had enough budget to afford a part-time virtual assistant, right? And that quickly morphed into a full-time virtual assistant. So I think as soon as anybody listening has $800 a month, that you should invest in a virtual assistant to act as, maybe someone to help you with your general marketing, someone to help you with your emails and calendar. That will move the needle, because otherwise you're stuck doing work that a virtual assistant can do. That will make you go faster sooner, right? You either get a virtual assistant or like on my team, we have like 25. All of my agents have virtual assistants that they can lean on. Everybody listening, as soon as you can afford it, and if you can't afford it, consider joining a team that provides that level of support. It's going to let you sell more houses and make more money.
I'll give you a perspective too. I actually just shot a video that'll be up at Agent War Room here this week on it. And it was because somebody actually asked me the question. They were like, hey, my revenue and what I'm making, I can't really afford that person, right? And I appreciate and I love the idea of lead with revenue. But when you're growing a business, if you're opening a restaurant, you're putting a bunch of money out. Even if you get a lunch, you're putting a bunch of money out. So there is an element of investment. So when I was in the insurance business years ago, I felt like I needed, an assistant. It wasn't a virtual assistant at the time, but I needed an assistant. And what I did was I worked backwards. Instead of looking at the monthly expense, which there was no way I could justify affording it. I said, if I were to buy leads or do something else, how much money do I have that I'm willing to invest? And I felt like I could invest $5,000. So I hired a gal part-time that was going to cost me $1,600 a month. And I said, okay, so that gives me a 3-month runway. But instead of it looking at it as a monthly expense, I looked at it as I've got $5,000 allocated towards this. And then in the 3 months, if it doesn't justify itself, then I've got to, look, is it almost there? Do I have to invest more, or do I have to cut the cord, cut my losses? And it turned out that it worked out great because it freed me up to do the money making activities instead of doing the minutia that I was now able to have an assistant do. So I love what you're saying there.
Good. Yeah. I mean, and that first assistant, something I realized about myself in scaling my team due to the fact that I was not a very experienced agent, was my first in-office hire full time would be someone that could be a transaction coordinator and someone that could answer the basic file questions. Not basic, as as big of a file question as it needed to be. I don't know documents. Now I know less than I did back then, but hiring those people first and maybe it's called office manager first. That really let me scale both in the team. And hey, like me and that same office manager, it was one woman built my brokerage, right? Like it was me and her for many years. Now I have 2 people to do that role, 3 people to do that role, excuse me, right? Because that's a very important thing that I'm just going to admit once again, like I never thought I was some extraordinary, by the form realtor. Like I can't quote what form to use. I can't quote any of these abbreviations, right? I can go meet somebody and sell the shit out of them, but I'm not going to be that guy, nor do I want to be. So I'm going to leverage myself in order to scale and invest my business that way.
So you scaled the team. You became the number 1 mega team in California.
Yeah.
You were doing an insane amount of sales. Are there any mistakes that, if you had the ability to rewind, you would undo something or have not made that move or made some move sooner that would be really helpful to the audience?
Oh, man, I know I've made many, many mistakes. And I think the biggest mistakes that impacted the business the most was just personal shit that I didn't really care about enough. Like you guys both know this, like I've gone through a physical transformation, right? And that's, I had been healthy, I had been unhealthy, I had been unhealthy for longer. And there was a time inside of real estate where, hey, I would really go out a lot and have a lot of fun and take everybody out to big fat dinners and buy lots of bottles at the club, right? And straight up, that affected how I presented myself to clients. That affected how much energy I could have to do all the things that I wanted to do, right? It's just like making those not, purposeful driven decisions, living for the weekend almost. Those are the biggest mistakes that I made. Because as I look back, like how much time would I have back? Where could I have been now?
Yeah, I hear you. Some of them are fun though. I mean, we did go to the French Laundry together. I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun.
So
I actually have that bottle of wine, and Sam left it with me to fly it to him. I'm looking at it right now. Your bottle of wine is sitting right here, right in front of me, Alex.
So Isaac, I'm gonna kind of throw this over to you. So out of Sunit's story, and some inside details that we couldn't get into in a matter of 30 minutes. But what are your key takeaways? What hit you?
I mean, they're key takeaways for me, but I think the audience needs to revisit these thoughts themselves too, right? And examine it. First off, I learned a new formula today. A model you can follow plus audacity is all you need to start a team. He had a model, and then he had the audacity to just stand up and go, I'm starting a team. Who's going to come with me? There's agents out there that should, based on that formula alone, start a team today.
There are, yeah.
Because you have a model. Like let's say you know that if you sit on the phone with the data set that you grab and the scripting that you use and the system that you've built, that you can get 2 listings a month working for sale by owners and expires. Let's just say that
Sure.
That's a model. Awesome. You know what we think agents want? Leads. What they actually want is a proven process to have opportunity flow.
Yeah.
Whether that comes in the form of online leads or it comes in the form of you gave me a process to follow. So now all you need, person that I just described, is audacity. Have the audacity to walk in your office tomorrow and go, who's coming with me? Right? Jerry Maguire style. So that's one thing. To me, that's a formula I'm going to live for life, right? Like I've started a team, so but my encouragement is, okay, what pieces of these, what of the 2 pieces do you have and what are you lacking? Okay, cool. Let's do it. Now there's some people who have audacity without a model to follow. Awesome.
Sure.
Find the model. That's probably what you're here for on this podcast. The other thing that stood out to me was sometimes agents look at guides like they're rule books. So you said KPA, and there's another thing, and I'm not knocking Keller Williams. I love Keller Williams.
Me neither. Same.
I'm the man that I am. Yeah, you definitely didn't do it right. I'm going to shout out. I'm the leader that I am today because they set me on the right path.
Same.
100% love them. Right. Here's one thing though. KPA and then the red book, right? Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Here's what I learned about Sunit myself, and I'm sure Alex would have been the same way if he were in that same system, right? And kind of in that. We looked at those things as guides that are great, but they weren't rule books.
Totally.
Right. So we just said, oh, okay, cool. Because the red book would tell you this. Do it this way first.
Yeah.
Don't do it until you're doing at least 36 transactions a year.
Get a full-time assistant first.
Get a full-time assistant first. I'm not saying don't follow good guides and follow models, right? I'm not actually contradicting what I just said about having a model. But at the same time, don't look at some guides that, are applied at a 190,000 person brokerage and say, oh, okay, those are the rules that I must abide by.
You are nailing it. Like, let me share with everybody. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent inspired me. I read it at open houses 2 years into my business and said, well, that's probably a part of the story that I missed, was the inspiration I got from reading that book. That book also gave me a lot of hesitation because, as I said, my team leader at the time was really into the KPA. And I said, I remember thinking this, Isaac, it's so good you brought it up, is what are they going to say? I don't have a full-time admin. I can't do this yet. I don't have a full-time admin. Guys, I didn't have a full-time admin for many, many years. I did have VAs, and talking to my consulting and coaching clients who are looking to really scale without any admin, like they have a huge disadvantage. So that's why I say, like VA first, at least get someone to do the simple stuff. Anyhow.
Yeah,
for sure.
My last takeaway would just be this. Become committed to what I call context-based learning. That's what I heard you did, right? Did you know every contract before you started selling people houses? No. And you never will, because they're going to change next month. They're going to change next year.
Especially in Cali. Yeah.
Yeah. So an agent, if you're going through the what I see a lot happen is I'm going to wait till I know all the things so that I don't feel inadequate or anything like that. No. Just get to the place where you need to learn. I don't need to learn how to write an offer until I have a client that wants to write offers. Let's be real. It's cool that now here's the thing. I should know where those documents are. I should have my broker's number and my mentor's number in my phone so that when I need their answers, I can reach them. I need to know where the resources are, but I don't need to know it by heart until I have a client who goes, yeah, I saw this house. Can we go see it tomorrow? I need to be prepared at that point to pivot directly into an offer writing scenario. But when I'm still making calls or setting up my first open house, dude, figure out how to greet people at an open house, knock doors and sign people in and have, even a spreadsheet to fill out. Like, get those things first. Get yourself in a place where you need that information.
Dude, and also show up. Like, that's something I did. I didn't have any money for gas, and I thought I had to wear a pressed collared shirt and slacks every day with dress shoes to the office. I didn't have money for dry cleaning. It was a real struggle spending $2.50 to get those 5 shirts I had dry cleaned every weekend in time for the next week, right? From the rack at Macy's, right? But I showed up, dude, every day, ready.
That's critical. And, to your point, Isaac, imagine this for a second. Imagine if a baby studied exactly how to walk and waited until they knew 100% how to walk before they took their first step. That doesn't happen, right? They get up, they wobble, they mess up a little bit, they fall down, they hurt their bottom a little bit, depending on how the padding in the diaper is. But you've got to try. And if you're there showing up, to Sunit's point, and you're willing to learn as you go, it's good to know some basics. However, honestly, I've done the professional student thing, right? I've watched, different lessons on places like Udemy, ad nauseum.
Totally.
And then, again, same thing. I could watch lessons on playing piano, or I know Sunit's a guitar player. I'm playing guitar. It doesn't mean I'm going to be able to pick up the guitar and just play it perfectly. So get to it. Get the guitar in your hand. Start strumming the chords. Start doing what you need to do. I'm going to segue into, so my big takeaway from this really has to do with what I asked you to kind of peel back a little bit on, Sunit, which was that personal development, that self-development. And I'm going to couple that with a different mastermind that I was on a couple weeks ago. And there was a guy on there named Jimmy Rex. And, some of you out there will know him. He's got a big podcast. And Jimmy Rex talked about when he went on his mission to Mexico, and he didn't know any Spanish. And in a matter of 2 weeks, he learned 4 45-minute scripts on how to, in this case, he was on a religious mission on how to bring that religion to the people. Fast forward to him getting into his real estate career. And the thing that he dedicated himself to doing was learning every script to the point that he could just recite it, slow, fast, it didn't matter. And the reason he did that, and what was awesome about it, what I heard from him, was that he was actually able to get on the phone and actively listen, because he was never worried about what he had to say next, because he knew it so well in his head.
Super
So
cool.
when I think about personal development, and I think about, takeaways, and that we want to do a takeaway on every episode of this, that's the one that I would say is look at what Sunit did in regards to his personal and self-development, how much he devoured podcasts, reading books, meeting with the right people, getting in the right rooms, and how can you implement that today? So if there are some of you out there that don't know the most common and modern way to talk to somebody on the phone, and you're calling, whether it's an internet lead or even a sphere, and you're jumping on that phone, and every single phone call, if I recorded it, has at least a 30 or 40% variance in the phone call because of what you're saying, you need to fix that. And if you're somebody that's saying, I don't like scripts, it's not about the script. We all have them, by the way.
Yeah.
Whatever you say to your kids in the morning, that's a script, because you say it the same, or when you're putting them to bed, right? Brush your teeth. Okay. Make sure that
Totally. Good one.
it's all a script. So learn it and dedicate yourself to it, show up and do the work. So with that, we're going to do a quick closeout and just let you know the episode 2, you guys are going to hear my story. So you guys get to ask me questions about who I am, my mindset, my habits, and what I've done to win. And by the way, for those of you, you'll hear it next time. I call myself Alex 4.0 because I've had a few careers before this, and a couple of them were pretty monstrous, pretty big opportunities. And I'll tell you all about why I got into real estate. And the last thing is join the Agent War Room community. Just go to Sunit, join.agentwarroom.com.
Yeah, you could even go to agentwarroom.com.
Okay.
Just go to agentwarroom.com. We'll make sure to leave a link in the show notes and check it out. I mean, we've really built something special there, and it's totally free, and there's not even anything to sell in there. So if you're an agent, or no matter brand new, or maybe just working on getting your license, or if you're very experienced, come in there. We got a bunch of free stuff to give you.
Yeah, there's courses. We're building out funnels that are going to be able to just be duplicated on your own. So a lot of ready to go, ready to implement, grow your business products in there that are all free.
Absolutely.
Awesome. This is a wrap on our first official launch podcast for the Agent War Room podcast. So thank you both for being here today and for all the insights.
Yeah. Good. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you soon.